Alright guys, as requested, today we got the Galaxy A36 here. This is a mid-range phone or a budget phone. It's on the cheaper end. It's typically, depending on whether you get it locked or unlocked. Like this one I got, off eBay for like $100. It's locked to Infinity, I think, network. And you can find this brand new for around typically $200 to $300, again depending on where you get it and locked or unlocked. But you'll find this on carriers, Metro, Boost Mobile. A lot of carriers will have this. A very cheap phone. So let's go ahead and get into it. I've been pretty impressed with Samsung's A series this year, especially the A56. So kind of excited to check out their even cheaper model. So the cool thing about these cheaper phones is that this thing does not look or feel cheap really at all. The frame on here is plastic. It took me a minute to note, so that's how you know it's a pretty well designed and well built phone. But the back is actually glass on here, so it doesn't feel or look cheap in my opinion, especially when you hold it. You can still feel the glass, and yeah, it's plastic, but like I said, it's not a badly designed phone at all. You have now the camera ring on here as well, like the A56 here on the back, triple camera setup, kind of those little thick rings around the cameras here. And yeah, so the interesting thing about the A36 is that this also has no SD card support anymore, which is unfortunate. But overall, I think the design is solid. It does have IP67 dust and water resistant, so that is pretty solid water resistant rating for a budget device. Screen on the A56 here is not bad at all. It kind of reminds me of the A56 almost. The bezels are definitely a little bit on the chunkier side, as you guys can see, but that is to be expected. The colors are pretty decently vibrant on here, and it's a pretty decent display. It's a Super AMOLED 120 Hz display, so everything is silky smooth when scrolling through your applications or playing games that support it. And then also it's 1080p 385 for the PPI, so text and icons all look sharp, of course. And yeah, it's 1900 nits peak brightness. So when I went out and took some photos, I was pretty happy. I was able to see the screen on here. So I legit don't have an issue with the display on here. I think it's great. I don't have an issue with it. There's nothing I can really find. Like I said, it's sharp, it's nice. The only thing you could really mention is probably the bezels here, but for $200, I mean, this is a great display. Now I ran the Geekbench 6 on here, and we have the Snapdragon 6 Gen 3, 128 gigs of internal storage. And this one is, let's see, this one is 6 gigs of RAM. So 6 gigs of RAM on the base model here. I'm pretty sure they have an 8 gigabyte of RAM version, but you would just be better off getting it, A56 if you wanted a new mid-range phone, right? So let's see, how does this compare? So it's kind of on par with a A54. Let's check out our multi-core score. Again, on par. So performance wise, it's pretty much on par with the A54 when it comes to these Geekbench benchmarks. And just a side note, it's running One UI 7 very well. I mean, it's running it like really smooth. The animations and how fluid everything is, it's pretty nice. I was actually pretty impressed, because I thought this would be the phone that would kind of be a little bit jittery with animations, but it's actually pretty well done. Like, there's no lag going on anywhere. So I'm pretty impressed with just One UI 7 in general, guys. I think Samsung has done a fantastic job with One UI 7. Now I'm gonna run this Wildlife Extreme test to see what kind of FPS we get. But on a side note, this does get 6 years of macOS updates, starting from, of course, Android 15. So that's really nice. So you can keep this phone for a while. The issue that we always run into with these mid-range phones is that they've extended the software support, but they start to lag over time, in my experience. And again, the chips are getting better, right? Like, I don't expect it. I expect the A56 to last, to be pretty smooth throughout the years. So hopefully that's the same case, because the chips are getting better here. So here's our score on 3D Mark here, 909 at 5.45 frames here. We kept a consistent temperature here and 4 to 7 frames, so nothing really too impressive. So overall, I think the phone is fast enough for general use. I don't really see an issue with it. And then also our circuit of search is here, even with 6 gigs of RAM. But the Gemini is not here. I guess Gemini might require the 8 gigs of RAM to run, but it's just Bixby. And also our advanced features are here as well, which I wasn't expecting. But Object Eraser, the edit suggestions, custom filters, AI select, read aloud is here. Now we are able to run PUBG at 60 frames, so it doesn't quite feel like 60 frames, but it's still running smoothly. So if you do want to get a little bit of casual gaming in with the A36, I think it's fine. And this phone has been pretty cool since I've been using it. So, coming in here playing a match, PUBG, Call of Duty, or whatever, just don't expect any, crazy performance here as far as, gaming goes. It's basically going to be pretty much, more on the casual side when it comes to performance. Check out these speakers. We're at max volume. Yeah, so I do hear a little bit of distortion from this top speaker, but I think the overall sound quality is, pretty decent. There's a good amount of bass here. The overall sound is pretty good as well. For a budget phone, yeah, it does kind of sound a little bit like a cheaper speaker, kind of hollow, I guess. But I don't think the speaker is bad at all at, max volume. It's loud enough. And the fingerprint scanner on here, it's a little bit, it's an optical one. It's a little bit on the slower side, but it does work. You can use face unlock, but it's one thing that I kind of immediately noticed. It just takes a little bit. It feels slower than the A56, but it does work. It's consistently works fine. About the cameras, so I was actually pretty surprised with the image quality here. It's a 50 megapixel standard, a 8 megapixel ultra wide, 5 megapixel macro. So there's no telephoto lens, so we can only go up to 10 times zoom here. And you also do get 4K 30 video, a 12 megapixel selfie that shoots in 4K 30. I would say the shots actually took me by surprise. Some of the shots I thought looked pretty good, but some of the shots, they kind of looked overexposed. The color was a little bit off. This is stuff that can be fixed in, with post editing, but yeah, that's one thing that I noticed here. Dynamic range is okay. It takes pretty good stills if we're in direct sunlight, for sure. So I think that's the goal for a budget phone. Just if you're out and about, to be able to get a decent photo. The 2 times is actually pretty decent on here, and yeah, just some of the shots, like I said, surprised me. They actually look fine. Video is also pretty decent on here. It's nothing that it's gonna blow anybody away. But like I said, you get some decent quality. You can kind of see a difference between the ultra wide lens and the main lens for sure. And like I said, because it has no telephoto lens, you're going to be limited, of course, in zoom. But like punching into like 2 times, 4 times is not that bad. But yeah, overall, I think that the cameras on the A36, they're okay. They're not. I don't think they're bad. They're just just average image quality. So I just got this phone not too long ago. So far the battery life has been pretty good, but I expect that to be like the key thing with the A36 is having great battery life. Like the A56 has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, and it also charges at 45 watts, which is it's not terrible. But I actually like the A36. I think it's fine for you guys who you don't want an older flagship. You want to buy a brand new phone. Maybe you've been looking at this phone on your carrier. It's a decent buy, especially if it's cheap. Like I think Boost Mobile has these for like $100. You can get these for like $0 or something like that with a contract. So the phone is fine. It does what it's supposed to do as far as being really smooth. and also giving you a good shot. I think the display is excellent. It's a great display for this price point. Yeah, so let me know what you guys think.